positivity, or looking for encouragement. Temia Brinson aims to educate you, to give you the push to believe, to have the mindset for success. Mindset for success. To have the mindset for success. To have the mindset for success.
Welcome to the Mindset for Success TV show. I am Temia Brinson, your host, and today our guest is Dr. Russell Drake, and he is a community advocate and also a community advocate, and also he's the founder. That's it. He's the founder of Build Black Daily. Amen. Build Black Daily. You guys look him up, Russell Drake. Build Black Daily. Hey, thank you for coming on the show today, Russell. I'm sorry, I got tongue tied. My mind kind of slipped me. Getting a little older now. How you doing today?
Good morning, Temia. Thank you for your leadership and all you continue to do in the community to raise awareness to serious issues that affect us locally and around the nation. The Mindset for Success is such a necessary platform, and we're glad that you continue to do it. We pray people out there listen and are able to invest in you, get sponsorships and ads, and elevate you to higher levels with it all.
Awesome. Well, today we're talking about no-knock warrants. And then, September 11th is on tomorrow. So we just want to talk about, where we are as a country as far as terrorism in the country and without the country. But for no-knock warrants, my question that I posed to the audience, why does Steve Bannon gets to walk all, out and about, and of course they had him in handcuffs, but what he has his life still, Why does Steve Bannon get to turn himself in, have all this time? Oh, we'll give you time to go in, come in there and we charging you and everything, but you can come on in versus our community, I'm gonna say it like that. Our community gets no-knock warrants. They come in, tear our doors down, guns a blazing. Why is that? It's such a disparity, and it's not even worth it. So why are we having this going on in America?
Well, I think first to quote the late Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, a threat to justice anywhere is an injustice everywhere. And the bottom line is it all bottoms down to the privilege of the matter, right? We've seen ourselves, Black persons, be devalued for centuries, undervalued, even in communities we don't know our own value. So we get placed down and taken advantage of. And no-knock warrants exist for persons who don't even have warrants out against them, mind you. That people were barged in on, shot, killed in their dwelling places. Stemming back 50 years, we could even talk about the tragic murder of Fred Hampton, where they busted in this man's house at 4 in the morning and unleashed 99 rounds. And even after he wasn't dead, even shot him dead further. So and did nothing wrong, mind you. No charges were ever brought against he nor his family. And then you have somebody, Steve Bannon, who's been intentionally trying to hide from the law, derail the law. Been told several times to turn himself in, several times as a matter of federal security and concerns. And he's, gently gets to say, okay, I'm ready now. Nobody busted in, nobody unloaded on him, nobody assaulted him and his family. Nobody did anything to make him feel unsafe. He was the safest person I've ever seen in handcuffs. So we've had these problems of equality and justice overall, And the thing it comes down to, as I say, is if you're gonna do it, do it how you say. You know, you're not putting your knee on everybody's neck. You're
Right.
not, a person's of Caucasian persuasion that walking around with guns in public, arguing with police, and nobody's doing anything to them. They're embracing them, and we expect the same thing across the board, and it's
Mhm.
unacceptable. It has to be known that it's unacceptable, and it has to be told to these agencies that it's unacceptable across the board. And I mean, while we're on the topic, I think it's an interesting thing if you even look at the persons who were just derailed in the state of Florida and arrested for what was allegedly voter fraud when they were actually mailed uh, um, voter registration cards, said that they
Mhm.
were cleared, received some type of notice that they could vote, and didn't try to illegally vote. They voted because the card said they could legally do so, and these people were apprehended. It should be no surprise that the majority of them are black. And
Right.
these are people that are returning citizens that were in an age range of 50 to 70 that have
Mhm.
paid their debts to society in every way, in more ways than one, through servitude in prison. Only place slavery is acceptable in the United States, which, by the way, several states have that on the ballot to take out the free servitude part, because it shouldn't be. If you're going to incarcerate people for a crime, then do that for the crime. But it shouldn't be that they're in there doing manual labor and others are able to profit off of it for them.
Right, right. And so the risk versus reward, and I know this talk about, well, that's a federal crime versus a local crime and the different types of crimes. And I'm like, what? I mean, I understand the difference. I'm not stupid, I'm not um, I don't claim to be a genius in you either, but I'm a mediocre. Mediocre people understand the difference between the crimes and the types of crimes, whether it's federal or local, right? But
Hmm.
that has nothing to do with risk versus reward. Because when you do a no-knock warrant, you spending all of these tax dollars for more than one police officer, basically a SWAT team, okay?
A whole
To
SWAT team.
go, yeah, all of this taxpayers' money to go and raid, not even raid, but to knock down somebody's door. Okay, and then what ends up usually, well, not usually, what we see on the news reports lately is that they've been, dollars and a lot of bullets too, ammunition into one's body, you know, and then all of that, and then the man hours that they have to pay them. I mean, it's just ridiculous to get one warrant or one crime, you know, and it may not even be sentencing. The sentencing is probably the weight of the crime is probably not even that much, even versus Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon did like uh, allegedly stole money, and as far as no not, if they're gonna raid anybody, that's the one who would have more time to hide stuff and to shred stuff before he take his time to turn himself in. Does that make any kind of sense? That makes no sense. I'm not understanding. So, do you know any type of analysis that they do? Because I'll try to look. I tried to surf some of their web pages. I didn't find anything like, do they do a yearly review? Because I need to contact someone, and we all need to contact our local and federal too, but mainly local. Seems like there's the one that's doing these no knock warrants, but we need to petition them, email them, call them, text them, whatever, because I didn't find anything where they had like a yearly review. Now they may have it, I just don't know about it. But if they had a yearly review, I guarantee you it will come out to state that it's not worth it. If they did a
Yeah.
cost analysis, it's not worth it. So what do you
Yeah,
think about that? You guys in the audience, get your pen and your paper, find the email, and, and let them know they need to do an analysis. What you think about that, Russell?
I think you're hitting on it right on the head. That at the taxpayer's cost, it's going out there to further abuse and oppress persons of color when they do these no-knock warrants. There are no stats that are out there that are public, at least. Somebody could be looking at them, but they haven't come to the public eye. And even some of these police review boards, they may review something, but by the time they review, the relevance is already done. It's all, something, some time period is expired or something
Mhm.
of the sort, and they don't have as much teeth to it as you would hope. It's almost a ceremonial gesture in some instances. So it's terrible. Like you say, people are doing things. There are people that are treated egregiously for allegedly stealing cigarettes.
I'm
And
telling
don't
you.
and not that costed $2 and have not harmed anyone. But you look no further than how the homeless are treated. Those brothers and sisters who don't have homes, they're treated the worst. They're abused and beat up. You can go right in downtown Orlando and they'll tell you how they're treated, pushed out of the way,
Wow.
discarded, dehumanized, and then after that, on occasion they're arrested and for loitering. And these people don't have jobs, or if they have jobs, they have meager incomes. They don't have homes. So now they're going through the system and through the system, and they're getting piled up with fines and fees. And of course, they cannot pay over and over.
Mhm.
And then you have millionaires and billionaires committing crimes of every sort at the
I'm
highest
telling you.
level, and getting slapped on the wrist, and is telling people that the system that we have in place lends more towards persons who have more financial means and of certain color and ethnic complexions. So that, and it's it shouldn't be that way. It should be, it should. The law is quite clear in most instances. So I think, sorry, the law is quite clear. The way that law enforcement handles people is where there is no clarity. This is why there needs to be a push to approve the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act that's
Mhm.
been debated in the Senate and Congress, and it's been stalemated in some instances.
Yeah, it has.
And it shouldn't be that way.
Mhm.
I've heard that there's more work and more people that may be leaning towards it, but we don't have enough to complete it and push it forward. And that in there would tell people that would say there no more no-knock warrants should be totally outlawed. They are not needed. Even and even if somebody really suspects somebody's in there and they have all kind of firearms, not too many people are just gonna bust in there. If
Right.
they're packing things, why would you? You know,
Mhm.
I mean, you set up some things, and you be prepared or surround the place, and like you say, they have the SWAT team in there. But the persons that they're doing this to, that we've seen more recently in the news, in the media, going back to the tragic murder of Breonna Taylor, these people were, just in their homes, resting. Were not even the person, could not even find proper evidence that the police should have been there in the first place.
Right.
So it's too grave an error when people say, "Oh, it must have been the wrong thing." You're costing lives. It is not worth it because of such. One life is
Mhm.
too much.
Exactly. And let me just play this clip because this is what ticked me off. This man had all the time in the world to do what he wanted to do. I mean, shred documents, get rid of everything, delete all his emails. He had time to do anything he wanted to do before he turned his leisurely and casually turned himself in. Let me just play this clip.
For every conservative American, this is what happens in the last days of a dying regime. They will never shut me up. They'll have to kill me first. I have not yet begun to fight.
Wow. Now you hear the words he said? They would never shut me up. They have to kill me first. Well, some of our people ain't get the opportunity to even have that, to even say that. And they didn't even want a fight. The fight came to them unfairly. I mean, he spewed all of that language. They would have to kill me first. Really? I'm like, dude, you lucky you're breathing right now. Had we been in a country that advocates fairness, if you were treated fairly, not fairness, advocates equality. If you was treated the same as some of our people was treated, you wouldn't even have the breath to say that, because our people didn't.
Yeah. No, once again, there's a glaring example of the white privilege of the matter. He knows that they're not even going to touch him. They're not going to try to shut him up. Nobody's hitting him in the face. Nobody's putting him in a chokehold. Nobody's forcing him to the ground, because nobody's taking what he's saying as a threat. What you say can and will be used against you in a court of law, but it's also used against you in the way you're perceived by law enforcement. Nobody's batting an eye. But, now he is detained and surrounded by people. It looks like a low probability he could do anything. But again, we've seen this when there are Black persons in the same thing, in the same condition, and when they start talking, they're getting hammered, literally. They're getting physically restrained. They're getting shut up. They won't be saying anything. And then it's all justifiable because of what they were saying and how the officers felt at the time. That is where we need it, where the clearness, it is unclear where law enforcement draws the line. And although in a academy is pretty clear, in the police academies, the training is very clear. And the question that begs is, why after the academy are people not held to that same standard? Why are persons in the military held to a higher standard, when in the U.S. military you take people who are 18 years old and put them overseas? And there are more people who've gotten, there are more military personnel who've gotten charged with things for shooting somebody in a foreign land, while they even had a gun drawn on them.
Right.
If they did something out of order, out of compliance with whoever their leader was, they're getting in trouble, they're getting investigated, and sometimes they're getting jailed. Why isn't that same thing happening over here when we put people through an academy? They know, they've been taught. All these funds that they say they're spending to teach people and train people to de-escalate, I don't believe that's the answer. There's they sold so much money into it that there's just some people that know they're doing wrong, and they're intentionally doing wrong. They should be
Right.
pushed out. They shouldn't. These persons, when it's even evidence, what do? They get paid leave of absence, and then after the paid leave of absence, they get an investigation. They get a punishment. If the punishment's too hard, they appeal it to their union. The union then intercedes, and then they get it appealed. And then if you try to punish the people again, they say, nope, you've already punished them once. You can't do it again. That's double jeopardy. When there are, again, persons that are facing double and triple jeopardy for basic things, for just being homeless and not having a home, just for asking for water, saying, can you give me some food? I don't have anything. These people are beat up, abused, charged, dismissed. Treated in some instances like animals. I would say worse than animals, because if people treated animals this way, they would be charged for it.
And speaking of no-knock warrants, I don't know. Have you heard, Russell, that in the case of Amir Locke, they said no charges will be filed? Did you hear about
Mm,
that?
mm. Yeah, first, the family goes out to the Locke family, Amir Locke's entire family, loved ones, and friends. It's a tragic thing to lose a loved one, let alone in a manner of that sort. Totally unexpected and unnecessary. Um, yeah, I'd heard that at the moment no charges were filed. I'm hoping that there could be further investigations into it, and that there needs to be some reveling charges against the persons that assaulted this young person. Here again, you have somebody who's in their home, posing a threat to no one. And it's like in seeing it becomes the same story, a different day or different year. It happens, and people are getting tired of hearing about it and seeing it and starting to question, when is enough enough. We are grateful for the works of people like Attorney Ben Crump, who bring attention to these issues, because they try to sweep them under the rug. If you look at it in
Mm-hmm.
totality, with Breonna Taylor, it was trying to get swept under the rug. Oh, we'll take care of this. They want it all in their town. They want it all in their state. They don't want it to make national news, so that there's outrage and we see that there are issues there. No
Mm-hmm.
different than in Georgia when this occurred with Ahmaud Arbery. You couldn't even get more glaring of a case where you you not you decided to play law and order on your own accord. You go
Mm-hmm.
chase a man down, yell at him, hit him with a truck, and shoot and kill him, and then and then go home. Get to go home after the police arrive. They let you go home. Yet
Right.
somebody's deceased. And so with young brother Locke, you have a similar situation. Somebody burst in, starts firing. He's killed. Nobody starts to resuscitate. Nobody tries to help. Nobody try.
Oh yeah,
It
they
is
didn't care.
it is the job of any first responder to attempt to save lives, of any first responder, whether you're in law enforcement, whether you're a courageous firefighter, whether you're a medical professional, whether you're aspiring and interning to be medical professionals, or just their support staff. It is the mission to save and protect lives. It is not the
Mm-hmm.
mission to just try to save yourself, to just pause and stop and now freeze up and try to get your story together so that you don't go down. That is not it. And it causes for outrage, disgust,
Mm-hmm.
across the board when you see and hear things like this. That should not happen. And again, and prayers go out to the Locke family. And I hope that more pressure is put on, and that there can be charges brought out, because what happens when we charge these officers, this that gets a look all across the nation. The fact that in Kentucky right now they're charging the people who were involved with Breonna Taylor's murder.
Yeah. Yeah.
It makes all the difference who's in office,
Mm-hmm.
by being courageous enough to do that and to do the right thing, and not just the white thing. But it further shows people that, hey, they're getting serious about this stuff. So don't stop this wrongful abuse of power that you've been doing for centuries. You're paying the price. Now, I think it
Mm-hmm.
should be taken a step further, though. When people are involved in these type of shootings, I think there should just be an automatic financial demerit to them. Just automatic
You
financial
mean
demerit.
personally, right? I think that'll
Yeah,
do it too. Yeah.
absolutely. That,
Mm-hmm.
as soon as this happens, they need to lose something like $500 out of their paycheck or something like that. As soon as it happens, and people are saying 500 is not enough. Okay, you get hit with this enough.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at it, again, you look at it no different than from in the tragic murder of George Floyd. these officers that are doing this have a history of being abusive, of being put on some type of leave or probation over and over. I don't know of any other profession where you can do that and still be
Mhm.
regarded as somebody who's a quality person, and we're going to put him back out there. Oh, he's going to get a raise and a promotion and a bump up and a bump up and a bump up.
Yeah.
And so, I guess overall, we're talking about the police culture. The culture has to continue to change, and
Well, you
people
know
can't
what?
buckle.
I think that they're scared. That's what I think. And like in the case of Amir Locke, this is the one in Minnesota where he was on the couch. He was sleeping on the couch under a blanket, and when they came in, of course, he had his firearm because y'all busting in his doors. And when you come into the home, I don't know if it's a home and apartment, but you have a right to defend yourself. He don't know who you are. You know what I mean? You just busting in, and I mean that's what a no-knock warrant is. But they're not charging because he had a gun. And my thinking is somebody busting into your home, you should have a right to defend yourself. I'm sorry. But that's why you shouldn't have a no-knock warrant. Give him time to just come in. Like you give everybody else, you give all these other people all this time to come in to turn themselves in. Why can't you do it with him or anybody else? I'm not understanding. That's a concept I really don't understand. But they're not charging because he had a gun, so they're calling it justified. And I don't think it's justified because again, the whole thing is flawed with the no-knock warrant. The whole thinking around that is flawed. You cannot expect somebody to bust in somebody's door, somebody's home, and for the resident to not defend themselves.
Mm.
Like this is America. I mean, this is becoming harder to recognize it, but this is supposedly America where we have that right. So I'm not understanding. The whole concept is flawed.
Yeah.
I just don't understand that. That's
I mean, I think that the understanding is that it's biasly set up in a manner. They try to rationalize the wrongness because knowing it's wrong, let's rationalize it by any means. If even he didn't have a gun, his cell phone looked like a gun. I didn't feel safe. You shouldn't have been doing
yeah,
it
now I
in
think
the
that's what
first
happened in
place.
Donovan Lewis.
Is
They
that
say
is
he
that
had
is
some kind of cartridge or whatever. They thought it was a gun. This,
that's the person that was reaching under his pillow or something, and
yeah,
they yes,
I'm
yeah,
gonna
and
play
then
a
yeah,
clip of that in a minute. But yeah, that's him. It's just a
yeah,
few days ago.
right, yeah, and it's again they know what they're doing. So and
You
I
don't
can't
think that they're scared, Russell? That's what I wanted to get to. I said all of that to get to this. I think they're
those officers.
scared. Yes, because when they see either whether it's a cartridge or a cell phone, sunglasses, whatever, oh, he had a gun. No, you scared. You're the one
I
with the
think
weapon and you're scared.
well, it all depends on when you say scared. It's I guess let's clarify. You're talking about they're scared of the whole situation.
Right.
And not I mean the thing is that the claim is that they're in fear for their life. That's where I say that is not true. That's what
Mhm.
I no, they're not. They're not in fear for their life. They're anxious about the situation, and they feel free to, well, this, since I have my gun out, I'm gonna bust in and just start shooting if I see anything. But if the table were turned and the person in there was white holding a gun, would this have happened? That is the question. We don't see it. We don't hear
No,
about it.
they'll try to talk him down. They'll give him the courtesy of trying to talk him down. They don't give us that courtesy.
No, no, they don't. And again, here we've talked about gun rights and the Second Amendment affords the opportunity to bear arms. And when somebody's actually bearing arms, now you're going to try to use that against the person. They bear
Mhm.
arms. You broke in. They reached for a weapon, and it's just so convenient though that everyone can say that he's reached for a weapon, because to be honest, we don't know exactly how it went down, do we?
Exactly.
We don't. I have to pause and consider, because I mean, is somebody really going to tell on themselves? Right? We look back to 10 years ago, even in Central Florida, did George Zimmerman's allegations of what happened? You couldn't hear the other side because the other side was killed. But
Hmm.
he tells you what happens, and mind you, he had a firearm, and the other person, teenager, didn't, and you were in danger. It
Right.
sounds like yeah, let's go with it. But it doesn't logically make sense, and that's why these biases has to get weeded out and called out, and there needs to be discipline and action. And I think you hit them financially so much, and a lot of this goes away. Has to be financial
Yes.
impacts and repercussions. Has to.
But I agree with your friends though, Russell. 500 isn't enough. I mean, if they're prejudiced enough or they're um selfish enough to just want to have a paycheck and stay in that zone and do what they want to do, they're gonna take the $500 hit and move on. It needs to
Yeah,
be substantial. And when these cities, when they go ahead and negotiate with the family and settle with the family and give millions of dollars, part of that need to be passed on to the officers. Okay, well, you need to pay up to at least 10, 15,000. It need to hit your credit. It need to hit your bank account. And it need to be substantial enough to where it hurt. And because I mean, restitution should just be for, stealing something, and it shouldn't just be for that. Restitution should be along with those crimes as well. And
yeah,
whenever the city settled, then they need to make that agreement that the officer pay as well. Now, the legality, how they make that legal, that's up to y'all, but y'all need to make that happen. Okay. And
yeah,
so,
yeah.
but let me go ahead and play this clip of Donovan Lewis. I mean, because again, I said this to you probably. I was on vacation. And I was like, oh my God, I can't even rest in vacation. And my family had to turn on the news and we watched it. And I was like, what? Oh my
Mm,
goodness. Okay, let me just play this.
Police body camera footage showing a Columbus, Ohio police officer opening fire and killing a black man while he was sleeping in bed. We do want to warn you, this video is difficult to watch, and Alex Perez joins us with more on this. Good morning, Alex.
Hey, good morning, Cecilia. The shooting appears to happen in an instant. Donovan Lewis's family is now calling for that officer to be held accountable.
We're gonna send that dog in.
This disturbing police body camera video capturing the moment a Columbus, Ohio officer killed 20-year-old Donovan Lewis. His grieving family this morning calling on that officer to be charged.
Donovan was unarmed, and he was abiding by police commands to come out of his room when he was shot in cold blood.
About 2:30 a.m. Tuesday, a team serving a felony arrest warrant for Lewis on domestic violence, assault, and improper handling of a firearm.
Apartment H, come to the door. Columbus Police. We're not leaving.
The officers in uniform identifying themselves for some 8 minutes, standing at the apartment front door, calling on those inside to exit.
Walk backwards to me.
Two eventually did.
Looking for Donovan. Where's he at?
Officers then entering with a canine to find Lewis. Authorities say Officer Ricky Anderson fired one shot at Lewis after the bedroom door is opened. Lewis appears to be raising his hands before being struck and collapsing. The police chief says Lewis appeared to be holding something in his hand. A vape pen was found on the bed, but no weapons. The video made public just hours after the incident.
It is critically important for us to let this independent investigation to take place.
And Officer Anderson, a 30-year veteran of the force, has been placed on paid administrative leave pending outcome of the investigation. Gio?
Yeah, big questions there, Alex. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News.
Okay. Now that was on, as you can see, ABC, courtesy of ABC News. I wanted to commend the mayor because he immediately came out and addressed it. He said, you know, we're going to investigate this, and also want to um, acknowledge that they did a good job of immediately putting the video out. So that's one of the things that they're learning to do now. Immediately address it and immediately put out the video, because you don't want to look like you're hiding something. You know, immediately put it out. Let the public see what's going on. So that's two things that, and the third thing is that I like how they, even though it's a no-knock warrant, they did knock. They announced themselves, they went in, they still announced themselves, and they gave him time and everything. And I was with them all the way up until they opened the door. They saw him, you know, he was in the bed and he got up. And I was with them all up until then, because they didn't get him time to get dressed, get out. Oh, he had some in his hand. Come to find out, the boy didn't have nothing. I was like, really? Oh my goodness. So a life was taken because of that, really? So I was with
Yeah.
them all the way up until then. And I know you say training is good, but I don't know what happened in the officers' minds.
Yeah. You know, none of us do. I mean, the officer needs to explain him or herself as to why did you shoot this person? That there was clearly no clear and present danger. There's no weapons found. There's a vape pen. It's not mistakable. It's not
I
mistakable.
know. You know
And
what a gun looks like. You see
well,
how
I think,
close they were?
yeah. Well, my thing is that I guess have a problem too with the guns being drawn so
Okay.
amped and ready to utilize them in that fashion. That you're right here and you're just holding and holding and holding and going in, and just the slightest twitch sets you off.
Mm-hmm.
And people can say that, oh yeah, I was nervous, I was this, and that's not what you're paid for. That's not what you're there
I
for, to
think
be
they're
nervous.
scared, Russell. That's what you see what I'm saying now? I think they are scared. We have scared, trigger happy officers out there because they're under pressure, they can't handle it. Some of these people don't need to be officers. That's the root of my argument.
Yeah, or don't need to be out on the street. Put them behind the desk or something of the sort.
Hmm.
Why do you have these people on the street that can't handle it? But I have to challenge that notion, because if they're really scared of it, why does it not happen more often with persons who are not black? It does not. I mean, the numbers are disparaging. If you look at the percentage of black people this happens to, mind you, blacks only make up 14% on the high end of the population in the nation.
Hmm.
So it continually happens to us, people who are darker complexion, and
Yeah, that's
it's
because of perception. Remember our conversation about perception and how we are
absolutely,
viewed? Yeah.
and that's it. That boils down to it. It's get that perception out of your head. We're not threatening anyone. The person was not
Hmm.
a threat. They were the threat. They came in. The person wasn't resisting even of the sort. There's no fathomable explanation for such. Now, what they do is they get instructed by lawyers and the union not to say anything about it. There's where I think there's a breakdown in trust. How can you
Hmm.
tell me to trust you when the whole world saw what you did and you know it was wrong, but I'm not going to say anything to see how I can weasel out of it?
Hmm.
It's a disappointing thing, isn't it? That
Oh yeah,
they're
because I
afforded that.
mean, think about it. If they talk and be honest and say, you know what, I choked. Just
Hmm.
come forward and say, I choked. Basically, that's what happened. Because if they come out and say that, then they might end up with a manslaughter charge or whatever, you know. And versus if they keep their mouth shut, hopefully on their side, they're hoping that nothing can be proven and they'll get off on technicality. oh, I believe as long as I feel threatened, I can get off.
Yeah, yeah, and that's it. There are standard lines that are used across the nation when things of this sort happen. First is they had a weapon, or I thought they had a weapon. Then after that, I felt my life was in danger. Then after that, there was, some miscommunication. The person said something, like Steve Bannon saying stuff, and nobody's doing anything to him, right? Then there's
Mhm.
the character line: stop resisting, stop resisting, stop resisting. That's said over and over, and you may not even be resisting, but they're just stop resisting, stop resisting, stop
Mhm.
resisting. And whether they're choking somebody or they're tasing somebody multiple times, and sometimes, sometimes finding pleasure in doing such. And
Mhm.
it's a horrible thing. So don't try that garbage, and don't especially don't try that garbage at our expense. We are people. We are citizens. We work. We earn wages. We
Mhm.
have been historically done wrong in society, historically, even to this day. But that's not the end of the story. We just want fairness. We want respect, and gives the fairness and respect that we deserve and have earned. Nothing, all this other fluffy stuff, no, no,
Mhm.
not at all.
Well, I think as a woman of faith, I believe God is going to turn some things around. Even though, we got to keep the faith because just like slavery
Mm,
and then just like economic disparity, we still was free. We got over that, and God allow some things to happen. And everything doesn't happen overnight. You have years of the devil working through a certain community or a certain race or a certain government. You have the devil working through that, and it takes
mm,
years to build down authority.
mm.
So God does come to our aid, but it takes years to undo all of that because he's working through human realm, through this realm, and through people. So
Yeah,
keep you guys out there, keep the faith and still continue to pray because there's still much work to be done. There's still even though we see progress, and even though, these governments, these local police officers, local police forces are turning around a bit, in their policies and procedures, and then also how they discipline, that's happening gradually because we're learning now by the help of God and, through grace that we have to be vigilant, and we're getting smarter now by going through the court system. Even if we lose a case, we know to go to civil route and hold them accountable because now they're learning through the power of the purse. So keep the faith, keep praying. Don't think that because look, it took what years of slavery, years
yeah,
of slavery. It took years for us to get from that.
yes,
So it's
yes, it
not going
did.
to happen overnight. Just keep praying. God hears our prayers. Go ahead,
Preach.
Russell.
I was just saying, preach, preach, Reverend Doctor. The um, and I think there's one aspect that I think I failed to touch on, and I think it has to be looking at the economic effect too. And I say this to say, when people see persons that have economic status or some economic things together, they're less likely to treat them certain types of ways.
Mhm.
And economically, we don't have as many assets as blacks. Heritage-wise, we know many things were stripped, and most black people are only 1 to 2 generations away from poverty. And because of that, when you have less means and resources, you're extremely undervalued, even white people, mind you, and they just don't realize it because some of those white persons can be poor as all get out, but they
Mm-hmm.
feel they're better than the richest black person with their entitlement still. But they too are in some oppressive states, and like, whether they know it or not, they may not have the competence level to understand why they're stuck.
Right.
But the economic thing is so valid that if we get our monies together and we can collaborate and continue to build Black daily in every industry across the board, then we propel ourselves upward and upward and upward. And there are other communities that have done this, and you see the treatment. You see the Asian community get so much outreach when something's bad now. They're getting a lot of outreach because they built it up and they have economic power and some economic freedoms to do some things
Mm-hmm.
that they've built up. White persons have had this from the start, whether they built it or stole it, and they've had
Right.
that from the start. Um, we do not have that as Black people. You have some that are doing very well financially and are moderately successful in life. We have others that are doing well, but you don't know they're doing well, and they're not putting anything in together so we can see what the total is. They're
Mm-hmm.
towing the line, and it's about time that we call that out and put it together and say, hey, everybody should have some commitment to supporting Black businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody should have some commitment to sowing dollars into these schools in Black neighborhoods. Again, it's the resources that make them not acceptable across the board. So we should, if we lift our economic profiles, a lot of this goes away as well because there's more at risk when you lift that, and on top of that too, even with getting attorneys. Um,
Mm-hmm.
there are people who are getting attorneys that weren't getting them 20 years ago. And we have Black attorneys. They have
Right.
great quality and skills. And actually, you could just look at BillBlackDaily.com and see a listing of 600 plus Black-owned businesses anyway,
Amen.
including,
BillBlackDaily.com.
yeah, including in the Black media, the podcast, the TV show, The Mindset for Success with Temia Brinson is listed in there. It is a Black business. So
All right.
we
All right.
can push each other up.
And speaking on that, you guys tune in, stay connected because Mindset for Success, we're going to be doing the Faith and Finance Conference February the 4th of next year. So I'll post the details later, but just save that date. Don't book nothing on that date, okay? Faith and Finance Conference. We're going to talk about God and money, money and God, okay?
All right.
And so, speaking of the economics, for as we come up economically, because even though we're not there totally, but I'm seeing that gradually. Even as far as the poverty level in our community, we're getting some success on that as well. Does that affect how we deal with or how we eradicate these? Speaking about because we're going into September 11th will be tomorrow. Does that impact or affect how we eradicate these domestic terrorists? Because September 11th is tomorrow, right? And that date was on outside terrorism coming in. But I feel the main threat now is domestic terrorism. And is even these white white power and all of that, all of this, and then you have some political. I'm not going to give them valid and name. You can name them if you want to, but you have political white entities, white organizations that pose as political. Let me put it like that. They pose as political, but they're actually a domestic threat, in my view. So, but do you think we can eradicate that through economics?
There's a very good question. I think on our own accord, if we economically get ourselves together, the economics will just run down, elevate us, and help our communities, but add towards better consideration for education and knowledge of things, right? Overall. Now, in terms of domestic terrorists, I think they're gonna still do what they're gonna do because they're domestic terrorists, and actually seeing more blacks get economically sound may even push up some of that domestic
Oh,
terrorism
so you
because
think it's gonna
they're
have a negative? Because I was thinking the more as we come up, the more they'll see, okay, this is normal. This is the new normal now. Black folks can have money too. So you're
well.
saying it will have the opposite reaction.
I think it exacerbates those domestic terrorists. Now, on the other side, I think law enforcement sees, hey, y'all need to stop this more often because our value is rising. So we
Mhm.
gain more allies in law enforcement and overall society. But some are they're just mad anyway that black people are excelling. You look no different than Black Wall Street 101 years ago in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in the Greenwood district that was devastated. People,
Mhm.
everything was taken and stolen, burned to the ground, bombed for being black and successful. Look no further over the years. You look no further at President Obama's presidency, that many people found out that they were closet racists, and they couldn't handle
Mhm.
seeing a black man at the top and a black woman in a White House either. They couldn't take it. It was frustrating to people across the board, so they lashed
Mhm.
out, and you saw things started like the Tea Party. You saw things. So I mean, you look no further than January 6th. This occurs out of the outrage of those feeling that way. And there were no people faking like they were anybody. They were being themselves, and,
Right.
and some of which were law enforcement, some of which were firefighters, some of which
Mhm.
the other day they showed somebody in law enforcement who was actually punching the officer on duty there and assaulting an officer at it. So I do think it's going to exacerbate some, and they're not able to handle it. And the way law enforcement treats them will dictate if that'll be acceptable moving forward or not. So if
So
they're just
now,
escort, yep.
okay, so law enforcement, not to because I don't do politics anymore, but since you touched on that, and it's really not politics, this is law enforcement, how we're dealing with it now, the January 6th committee, but
Hmm.
really the Attorney General Garland, okay, and
Hmm.
he's going after these people. We just saw early in the show. We just talked about Steve Bannon being perk walk, so they are getting on to these people, and even some of the regular folks who were at January 6th. They locked up a number of those
Yes, it
already.
is.
So, but now they're going after the big guns now. So, do you think that this is going to, because a lot of the top people, they're going to jail? Okay, you heard it
They
here,
are.
folks. They are going to jail. Still, Steve Bannon is not the only one. There's going to be more to come. Watch what I tell you. You guys already know. So, how he's handling this now. You think that's going to determine, because I'm praying daily that this will be put to a rest, and all of the governments from time after time, from here until eternity, that all governments will know that this will never happen again.
Yeah, I think it definitely is going to set a huge precedence as to how this all unfoils and rolls out, and it's so necessary that that Attorney General Garland, hold a tough line of accountability, and true justice under the law in the whole thing of the matter, and don't buckle to any pressures that may be mounting from other, different persuasions for whatever reason. And it's cut and clear down the middle. It doesn't matter who you are, you're in the wrong for this or participating in it. And it, and that's where even our law enforcement that day was in question as to why they were so patient and weren't aggressive, and people were
Mhm.
bursting in, and it was not what I would have thought would have ever seen in my lifetime. And mind you, I went to college in Howard University in Washington D.C., and to get around those Capitol buildings, heck, even to get to a food truck out there, is sometimes hard to get to without bumping into somebody who's guarding the place. So
Mhm.
I was totally astounded at that. But how this is handled though definitely will set a huge precedence. And I'm hoping that everybody looks and takes note that nobody is above the law.
Right.
Nobody's above the law, and the law is made to protect. And huge breaches in it should be severely punished as well. We
Mhm.
shouldn't be trying if we're not even showing mercy to those who were put in a system, stuck in a system, and didn't know how to do anything but some cycle passed down for generations. And then after you break the system, they're able to see and learn different things. But
Right.
this isn't the case in this. This is people that knowingly did wrong and shrugged their shoulders of it and walked off, and now pretend
Mhm.
like it didn't happen. Just because I say I didn't do it, that should be enough. That
Right.
that that in itself is privilege.
Mhm. But they cracking down, and a lot of them has been, locked up now. So hopefully these racist organizations posing as political organizations, because I want to be clear, I don't cover politics anymore.
Mm. Um, and I think you're on mute to me, Dr. Brinson. I believe you're on mute.
The connection went out over here. That ain't nothing but the devil. But
Okay,
anyway,
okay.
yeah, he don't want me to say this because I don't cover politics because it's a facade. In our community, we get caught up in the Democrat versus Republican. But that's not the issue. The issue is spiritual, number one, good versus
Mm-hmm.
evil, and number two, racism. So you need to look at what the issue is. It's not about what team you're on. It's about what God you serve and what I wouldn't
Mm.
say what community, but yeah, what community, humanity that you represent, you know. So all this politics stuff because the white the white racist organization, they are posing as political. They're not political, they're racist. It has nothing to do with
Yeah.
politics. They just want to
Yeah.
be in control. They just want power. That's all
That's
it
it.
is. That's all it is. They want power, and that's why the top guy on their team, that's why he was ranting and raving because he wanted power. He didn't want to let that power go. That's all. It didn't have nothing to do with Republicans and Democrats. Nothing to do with politics. It's all about power and who controls it.
Mm. Yeah. I think you're exactly right. It also should be noted, um, politics is how much and who gets it, and being able to determine who gets it and benefiting people. There there's things even going on about trying to ban abortion. We even have to understand that that's even an economic thing. Trying to ban abortions in different areas and limit them occurring. It is because statistically, at the rate we're going, it's predicted that the majority race will be phased out by the year 3000. And so there are persons out there trying to preserve their race, and they're looking for ways to do it. They realize funneling economics can help their families, but it won't necessarily preserve the race. So now they're trying to preserve it. So if the most people that get these abortions are not minorities, actually. Yeah, the most people that get these abortions are white persons, and they don't want them to be aborted. They want that. They need more. They want more population. They want it to continue to be a race that's viewed as dominant, and in any system, a tier system, or just economically, and weapon wise. And they want to remain in control for generations and generations. So they're setting the scale for that economically. Economically, they're setting the scale for that when they're trying to punish school systems for teaching Black history and real history. Because if they wipe away this history, there may not be such a need for people, Black people or any people who've been oppressed throughout society, that have the eager to break free and let other people know that we can break free. If they pretend it never happened, there's no need for that, you all. There's no need for it. If we can strip this from your textbooks, and we are a nation so ashamed of our history that we make it a crime to learn it, and a state so ashamed of it that we make it a crime to learn it. And again, that's all the impact things economically, and we have to understand that. And that's why with Build Black Daily, we want to uplift communities economically first, then socially, educationally, and civically. But economics at the forefront of it.
It does. The Bible said money answers all things, and that is the truth.
Yes, it's the root of evil, and it so many people get consumed with greed and wanting it, the power, the money. And mind you, when the nation was started, where Blacks were regarded as property, 3/5 of a person. The only reason 3/5 of a person even came about was that way people from the South can have more representation on paper and ways to get congressmen and women and things of that sort. But we're regarded as property. And if you're property, that means you're an asset, and you are valuable, and you bring in more value to your owner. So there are people out there that want property, the human property back, and with the help of even some Supreme Court justices, want to roll back things continually and roll them back and roll them back. And it's all economic, and we can't fall for the hook. We have too many brothers and sisters that have sacrificed blood, sweat, tears.
I know that's right.
And their lives. So we cannot go backwards. We have to go forward in honor of them and our elders who are still living, who put it down and continue to be inspirations and wealth of knowledge to us. And we have to get it together and focus and say, hey, they are sniping us from this angle. They're sniping us, and this is unacceptable, and get more state attorneys, attorney generals to say that you're going to stop it. Get more mayors like the one you just saw that came out. He put it out clearly and said, hey, this is what happened. We don't like it happened. We're going to do a thorough investigation. And that wasn't happening 10 years ago, nor 20 years ago, but it's happening now. So it's we do see some minute progress along the way. There are some things that we need to tighten up as well, but as long as we're seeing some progress, and everyone knows it, it shouldn't be taken for granted, and people shrug it off and Some people just say that's the way it is. And it doesn't have to be just the way it is.
Right. And that happens, it's happening now. Like you said, the mayor coming out and putting out the video right away because of vigilance. We're vigilant. You have to be vigilant. And people, like you said, I forgot the phrase you call him, Attorney Benjamin Crump. What do you call
Yeah.
him?
Um,
America's,
oh yeah, he's Black America's Attorney General.
oh yeah,
Absolutely.
Black America's Attorney General. Yeah. Because of people like him who are vigilant and they keep pushing and now because he was kind of out there before, he was kind of, what I mean, he was kind of out there, but now he got his game. He know how to get in there and talk to the people and work with them. And then at a point, if he, he, on the other hand too, he's smart enough to know if he's not getting anywhere, then he's gonna push it. Because when you can talk to someone or not, or negotiate with someone or not, just like he worked with the attorney in Georgia, you know. So it's people like him that are vigilant, and then they get the the he has the intelligence to know to tell his client, after this is done, whether you win or lose, you need to file a legal suit. You need to file suit because the money will compel them to the table. And that's how you
Hmm.
get them to change their policies and procedures. And then because of that and that vigilance, now you see other mayors are coming out. Okay, well, let's get this out, get that video right away out. We don't want to look like we're hiding anything because they know they're going to get sued. Look, we're going to sue you if
Yeah.
you don't handle this right. You wait 2,
Right.
3 weeks, 4 weeks, put the video out. You're hiding something. You have to be. Why you're not being transparent?
All right.
So if we didn't challenge them, they wouldn't be compelled to change.
That's it. That's it right there. And that's it. That's community demands accountability. The community demands accountability everywhere. It makes an impact. And
Mhm.
don't give us that my voice doesn't count, because if your voice wouldn't count, people wouldn't be trying to mute it. Your voice counts. Your presence counts. And there's glaring examples of that.
Okay, we're gonna wrap this up. Dr. Russell, I thank you for coming on. Again, you guys stay tuned, keep in touch because again, we're gonna be doing the Mindset for Success Faith and Finance Conference coming up next year, February the 4th. It's gonna be an all-day session. We're gonna have a couple sessions. We're gonna do lunch, and then we're just gonna enjoy ourselves in the Lord and also trade information.
Hmm.
This is going to be a informational impact conference, okay? Because I've been living for a while, and I ain't here just to be here. I'm here to impact. So we're going to come with some information. But before we leave, Russell, you have anything you want to announce? I'm gonna give you the floor.
Um, yes. First, I'd like to thank the Mindset for Success for continuing to do wonderful journalistic coverage, shows, informing the community and the nation on topics, pushing issues that many people are afraid to talk about or want to skirt the lines and talking about. And thank you for your leadership, Dr. Temia Brinson. I do want to just tell you that I think today is Suicide Prevention Day, and there are a lot of persons out there have seen different people going through depression, and we often ignore things of that sort. So please try to help a brother or sister if you feel they have some issues and need to be resolved. Extend a hand to them and try to help them. Refer people to get professional help. And if you're out there, hey, it's good to be alive. Whatever you're going through, your faith being tested, remain faithful to it. Build Black Daily also be releasing our Black Business Directory near the end of the month. We'll have 600 plus businesses. You can see it online, the preview at www.buildblackdaily.com. It's so funny looking at this thing. Yep, buildblackdaily.com. And thank you again for the time and the opportunity. I'll see you all at the top. As you know, I will not stop. One love.
All right, all right. We're going to wrap this up. Thank you for coming on today. And you guys remember, we're here every Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, Facebook Live and also YouTube Live. And then it'll also rerun. There's a few episodes back, but it also rerun on Kingdom Purpose TV. If you have Roku TV, Fire Stick, Apple TV, you go ahead and search for the channel Kingdom Purpose TV. Save that channel, and we're on every Monday night at 9 p.m. Okay? But until then, you guys be blessed.
You have the mindset for success. If you're looking for positivity,